So a question that comes up quite frequently is, how do I, as a fifth-dimensional person, a higher frequency, deal with three-dimensional, four-dimensional frequency beings on the planet? In other words, children, spouses, friends, co-workers, all of that stuff. This is something that is critical for your progression in the planets. So let's talk about that, because it's a lot easier than you think. So welcome to Landria Onkka on YouTube, here to help you break through those fears, live an amazing life. Do you realize how really warped everything has been on a planet that could be absolutely perfect? We are on one of the most beautiful planets, yet we have struggled as human beings forever, right? I doubt there were very many times, maybe Atlantis, but they destroyed themselves too through ego and other issues that we'll never know about for sure. So how do we deal with all of this? Our behavior toward one another is 100% the reason why this planet is in peril and has struggled so much. If we loved one another unconditionally and really cared, we would never do anything to harm one another or our planet. We'd have total respect. There's never any reason to argue with anybody, to take a stand, to get angry, to blame, or to be a victim, ever. Because when we're all functioning on that fifth dimensional level, we're never doing anything to one another that could be painful or, let's just say, of a lower frequency. But unfortunately, that's not how things are right now. We are on a planet with dense beings from the lowest frequency all the way to people like Christ, who came here and proved that we cannot be destroyed. We are all gods, and you are. So I'm going to ask you this. If you struggle with this, then dealing with other people, a spouse, maybe even children, if you're struggling with this, ask yourself if you're really in that high of a frequency. I'm not saying that you're not going to experience some feelings that are human, and that's what I want to discuss with you, is that you are still a human being on a dense planet. As long as you're in this body, you will continue to experience the human experience, and that is, you're going to experience pain and, things that you experience as loss that really aren't, but you'll, as a higher being, understand it's not really loss. It's just that pain of not having a person in your life or having a certain thing in your life, but it no longer controls you. Everything is for your involvement. So many times we're saying, well, how do I deal with these other people? And that tells me that you're still not going into the higher frequency. The higher frequency doesn't question the other person. The higher frequency doesn't see the other person as a dilemma to deal with. They just don't even go into that space. A higher frequency deals with every situation in peace, without judgment, and without really thinking. So let's say you're not at that point where nothing's really an issue. You experience it. It's very uncomfortable to be here because the human experience still has all of the emotions, all these things that go on. We still share a collective, and you're going to pick up on a lot of that, whether it's yours or not. You are connected to everything. Everything is connected. So you're always going to be a part of that as long as you're here. But my question to you is, how are you observing it? How are you handling it? So somebody asked me, how do you deal with kids? How do you deal with your children? And put your foot down. Create discipline. You always have to remember, if you're going to evolve yourself, that you are here to raise the frequency, to enjoy this material world, but you're also participating in a society that's been created that is still dissolving, all right? Some of those things are dissolving. But we still have to function, like we still have to use money. We still have to, you know, go through certain systems right now to take care of ourselves. But we're changing that. We're having to make decisions personally to ask, do I have to stay in that system? The way I'm functioning, is what I'm doing contributing positively or negatively? And so we have to make higher decisions. So this is when the higher being, the higher frequency of which you potentially are or already are in, has to look and say, as a human being, how am I contributing? Because I know things now. I have information. So how am I going to translate that into my human experience? So that means if you and people are struggling with their jobs because they have to pay their bills, they're doing things they know aren't right and that they despise, this is going to be your biggest test. This is going to be huge because you're really going to have to make some decisions. Some decisions that, it'd be so easy to just be miserable and go back to that job or stay in that relationship because, well, I always hear this from women all the time. Well, I always see the good parts of him and then he beats the crap out of her, you know, the other part. Even if somebody ever lays a hand on you once, you know, I'm out of there. I mean that's ridiculous, but we want to give ourselves reasons to stay in situations because it's easier, not for them, for you. Let's be really honest. I have to take care of my family, so I'm going to stay in a lower frequency job that is not only not good for me, but it's probably not good for the planet or anybody else. If you're feeling bad, then there's a mismatch there. And even if the business is not bad for the planet, if it's not polluting the planet or doing things, if it's a mismatch for you, it's time to make some serious decisions. If you are dealing with your children, you have to abide by the fact that, you know, certain rules have to be put in place for their safety and for, as a teacher, you know, you're teaching them. This is their experience here. So what are you teaching them? You cannot control their personalities or what they're going to do with that. There's always that rebel kid that goes off, you know, their parents are wonderful, everybody's normal, and there's this one kid that goes off and does crazy whatever. That's their journey, and that's their adventure, and that's what they came here for, is to experience certain things. But all you can do is give them the most peaceful, kind training and guidance. All right, so ask yourself, what is the issue right now that I'm dealing with that requires me to put some guidelines in place? And then you explain that. And not in a wussy way where, you know, you want to be your kid's best friend. Listen, my mom was my best friend, but I'll tell you what, you didn't mess with my mom. She knew what you did wrong before it ever got close to her. It's like, how does she know, right? Some of you had parents like that. I had nothing but respect for my parents. And my friends who didn't have parents that disciplined them or kept them on track loved my parents. They said, I can remember one of my friends saying, your parents really care about you. And they had no discipline, and they could do anything they wanted, and they didn't feel that, just that love, that comfort, that protection, I should say. Children need to feel protected. They will benefit greatly when there's a family unit. So ask yourself, are you creating the family unit? Because that's a higher frequency of community, of working together, of listening to one another, of not judging that, but allowing others to speak, allowing the children to speak, not disciplining them like, you know, getting your hands smacked in school or something like that. We're talking, and by the way, there's nothing wrong with some very strict discipline. I got grounded all the time in my room. I mean, I had to go sit in my room, which I didn't mind because I like to paint and do stuff like that. But I had to miss Batman on TV, and I really, really didn't like that. And the Disney Channel. I'm dating myself here. So how do you go into that space, all right? How do you go into that space? That is making a high decision of what we still have to deal with in the real world. I should say the material world, seemingly material world. Okay, not the material world, the holographic world we created. And asking yourself, what must be in place right now for me to give the best guidance and to not be affected by it? So you place it, let the kids scream and yell. Okay. And I think a lot of times we are interacting with children who are learning, and we're allowing our emotions to get involved. So that's when the ego in all of these situations is still in operation. All right? So when you let go and you don't say, and you're not saying to yourself, I have to have this job to take care of my family, so I'm going to sacrifice my happiness, my health, my frequency, the planet, other people, and we're doing that. A lot of people are walking away from that and saying, I don't care, I'm going to find a way, or they find a way first and they walk away. When you're ready to do that, your opportunities are going to open up. My Miracle Circle and my Prosperity course, wow, I'm getting people that are telling me amazing things that are coming to them. You know, jobs and money and opportunities and relationships, health, all kinds of things, because they're putting into place a higher frequency thinking, belief, actions, and they're making that a habit. I call it, this is your new habit. Create that habit every day of going into the higher frequency, of not judging anymore and just knowing that you're manifesting everything at every moment and focusing on that, but not being emotionally attached to it. So many are, I need this, and that's not a high frequency. It's okay. I'm creating everything. What am I going to learn from everything? And you learn from those relationships. If there's conflict, you learn from how you handle it. How am I handling this? They aren't the problem. Nobody else is the problem. There aren't any problems. How am I handling this? Here is my awesome opportunity. That's why I'm here on the planet, to raise my frequency, even in difficult situations that me as a ego human might find really difficult. Me as a fifth dimensional person is not fazed by any of this stuff. Say whatever you want. Who cares? Blah, blah. You know, Charlie Brown, wah, 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 right? Talk all you want. Those are words coming from somebody and what their issues are, right? They're only spewing out what they feel. So when somebody insults you or argues with you or whatever, their ego is in action and they must be right and they're frustrated with the world or how other people are thinking. It's never about you. It's never about you. You may be a trigger for them, right? Especially if you're in a high frequency, that can drive a lot of people crazy because they're not getting a reaction from you, right? Fifth dimensional people. And by the way, so many people are saying they're in fifth dimension and the next thing out of their mouth is, they, the others. I'm like, you're so not in the fifth dimension. There are no others. There are no others. We're just all one, experiencing things on different frequency. It's not to be judged. If you want to go on a high one, great. There's no split between you and them. The New Earth split is going to be an individual energy freak. It's a frequency. It's energies that are deciding how they're going to participate in this world that we are manifesting. What's my manifestation? That's all you need to concern yourself about, is what am I manifesting? Because it doesn't matter if they go or they don't. My family won't come with me. You're not getting on a freaking plane going to a deserted island. It's not working that way. You will not even be aware that anything's happened. You will just be aware that your quality of life absolutely has shifted. Because in that reality, everybody's with you. You're just going to function differently, all right? And so many of you are feeling like you are not on the same planet anymore. You feel like something big has shifted. You're starting to feel like the planet, the world has changed. And you can't put your finger on it because you're thinking, well, nothing really changed. Yes, it did. Your frequency went up. So therefore, things are coming to you, showing up, certain people, opportunities are all happening in a different frequency, a different dimension a different reality. Let's put it that, different reality. I think this is easier to understand. You shifted into a different reality because you are focused on peace, love, not being attached to the material world, giving, not needing things, everything, you enjoy it and you appreciate it, but you no longer are controlled by it. And this goes with all of your relationships. Those are going to test you the most because we still think of somebody as the other. How do I deal with them? I don't know. That's you. How do you deal with you? Right? We're dealing with ourselves. There's another version of me, not me the person. That is the one expressing itself in every possible way and interacting with me, the individual experience, to see how that's going to play out, and you get to choose it. So this is not about them and how do I deal with them. And so when you guys ask me about those relationships, all I'm hearing is that that other person somehow is an issue. So if you're in a relationship and you aren't resonating and it is not good for you and you can walk away, well, everybody can walk away at some point. Then walk away. If you're not resonating, you cannot stay in a high frequency accepting any kind of abuse to yourself. And it's not about them. It's about you accepting lower frequency behavior and not doing anything about it. Right? If you don't resonate, they are not the problem. They are your teachers. And now I love myself enough to walk away. And who knows what that'll bring. Maybe that other person will evolve. But that's about you. It's not about them. Their abuse. I hear this all the time. I'm with a narcissist. I'm with an abuser. No, you are with exactly what you ordered. And if you're with them, hello, you're with them? Okay, where's the problem here? You are with them, you know? So, I mean, I want you to start taking control of your power. Because I'm hearing these problems coming up that are not problems. It's your opportunity to say, how am I handling this? Because if my ego's still involved, I am not in the fifth. I am not up there because there's no room for that. There would be conflict with one another in the fifth. And there's no conflict there. There are people helping one another and there are things that are going to come up, challenges, but there's no conflict. So ask yourself, do I have conflict in this situation? If I do, it's because I'm believing something, not them. If they have conflict, fine, that's their choice. But if you're feeling conflict, you're doing it, right? So two people can walk in and have the identical situation and somebody could say, what's the problem? And then the other person could say, well, this is going on and how do I deal with them? And it's like, well, why are you having that conflict? There's no problem. I think so many of us feel like we have to respond all the time. I know somebody who, if you voice your opinion to them about something that you're dissatisfied with, you know, just a discussion versus, you know, life is horrible, you know, they won't let it go. Have you ever been with somebody who they hang on to it? They'll be talking about every negative stuff that happened 10 years ago. And then if you mention something, they say, oh, are you still upset about blah, blah? You're like, I was never upset. You know, it was just a situation. Because they can't imagine that somebody actually has a situation, can feel that discomfort, not be satisfied with a certain, you know, activities. You can still experience that. But then you release it. You release it because you're still a human being. So if something happened, it's very unpleasant, you'll experience it. You'll experience it. But you're not judging, keeping it, holding that energy. In fact, you find all the ways to resolve it. And you don't have to interact. You don't have to get involved in any of that conflict. So if you have children and you struggle with this, you're not there to be their best friend. You're the teacher. You are there to make sure that they feel safe and provide for them and to show them that there is another way to live on this planet. And it's a peaceful one. And I was always taught by my parents to respect others and that there were, to never judge anybody by their religion or skin color or education or, you know, how much money they earned. Never. In fact, my parents would be appalled if that ever, you know, that kind of thinking ever came into our house. So I grew up with that, you know, seeing the best in others and not always saying it's okay, but not judging them for that. And that was because my parents instilled that. So just make sure you're focused on what's really highest and best for them. And, you know, just putting some guidelines down. It's okay. They're kids. They're learning. And so why do we have stuff that we bring with us? Because parents that maybe didn't do stuff so great, right? They were caught up in their own stuff, or, you know, there was abuse or whatever going on in there. You're carrying that energy with you. So create that positive energy for your children. Don't go into conflict. You don't have to react when they have their little hissy fits. Fine. Talk to the hand. And we give that way too much attention. And all our other relationships. My boss. And I've worked with you guys on the boss thing. I said, you go in and I want you to try this. Be the nicest possible person and actually send them blessings and know that they are somehow struggling. Don't look down on them, oh, they have a horrible life, that's why they're acting that way. No, just say, you know what, there's another person struggling. There's a reason why they're acting that way. There's some turmoil in there and it's spewing out. It's not personal. If there was somebody else sitting in that desk, trust me, they'd pick on that person too. And so you just sit there and, okay, say, okay, I don't have to react to this. And I'm going to continue to be the respectful person no matter what that other person does. And that boss, I've heard every single time that boss has turned around and changed the whole situation because of what you were putting out. And that's where everything comes from. All right, so this is a tough one. Oh, it's my coffee here. You guys, you know, this is creating this little thing that comes out. That is my internet marketing. That is not something that you pop into like a job. That is not a job. It's a business that you own and create. If you're interested in doing that, I was able to quit my job 6 years ago, my career, investment banking. I was miserable. And so I was able to walk away and do the things that I love. Writing, I have a television movie. I went and got my interior design degree. If you look at I have another YouTube channel, my lifestyle channel. I talk about all those things that I love to do. My life's changed completely. I had to create that. I had to build a business, but I got the skills to do it. So, you know what? Life is going to not always just hand you everything. Your journey of getting to whatever you desire will require some changes. So you just don't flip into it. You just don't go into fifth. We learn, we evolve into it, right? You know, even Buddha and Eckhart Tolle and you know, so many prophets evolved into it. They still had to go through the human experience to get to that super high level, no matter what they were born with. We're all born with unlimited abilities. So I just want you to remember that, because everything that you go into, just say, okay, this is my new journey because I'm going to learn new things about myself. This internet training, people are learning how to become business owners, learning new skills, how to be patient, how do I learn certain things, how do I get help for certain things. They become different people completely. If that's something you're interested in, that's a free workshop here that gives information. You guys go down in the description. It may be sold out by now, but Shift into the New Earth is a 3-hour master class. If you can get into the live class, great. If it's closed, there will be a second group that gets the replay. Everybody gets the replay, no matter what, for 1 year, unlimited. All right? So you can go in there. There's a code, a coupon code down there. If you want to join me, we're going to talk about the New Earth, relationships, keeping your frequency high. What does it mean? What is all this? And how do we progress and go through the rest of our lives, our material lives here, in the most amazing way and shift into something that we haven't been living for centuries? You're whole and perfect, strong and powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy. Blessings to you, my friend. Namaste.